Hey, welcome back to Project Me. We have a lot of ground to cover. We have a lot of ground to cover. If you've watched these videos before, you'll know that this project of mine is an outlet, a way for me to process my emotions, because I tend not to speak about them a lot with other people in my life, for good or ill, and this digital diary, in a way, sort of helps fill that gap in my life. It's a way for me to just speak honestly to strangers on the internet about my experience with something, and maybe, just maybe, by working through it myself, someone else will find something interesting or something helpful about it, or just be able to laugh at my own misery. You never know. You never know. But hey, so that brings me to today's video, which is about catching feelings for a lesbian. It's a hard one out there, guys. It's tricky. The absurdity of the situation is not lost on me, I assure you. It is something that is very apparent in my mind, and it does make me laugh. It makes me chuckle, partly as a coping mechanism, but partly because it is just objectively quite funny. So here we are. But let's go through it. So it's been a long time since I've made a video like this, because I haven't, and it's a good thing, I haven't actually needed to process that much. But things have changed now, and I actually need to process an emotion. And frankly, I don't really know what I need to process yet. So let's talk about it. So let's give some context, lay the background, and then I'll move into sort of what I'm feeling now and how I can move forward from this as well. That'll be the goal of today's video. And that's the layout. So for context, I have been quite good friends with someone for just about maybe 8-9 months now. She's been a really good friend of mine. I've had a great time hanging out with her. We were quite close. In many ways, I'd consider her my best friend, or if that label doesn't apply to anyone, certainly someone who's able to fill many gaps that a best friend would. Very, very close with her. I love her dearly. And she happens to be a lesbian. In my mind, I never thought that catching feelings would be a problem. Quite naively, might I add, because I simply thought, well, I know it's structurally impossible for it to happen. So, knowing that, I'm not going to catch feelings. But that's a very rational approach, and emotions are anything but rational, right? They are, in fact, infamously irrational. So that strategy didn't work out. It worked for a long time, to be fair. It worked for about 8 months. But I think about, 2.5 weeks ago, give or take, I started catching feelings. And at first I wasn't honest with myself, because I had this grand strategy. It had worked thus far. Why wouldn't it work now? I'm just feeling really close to my friend. It's not an emotional crush attachment or anything like that. No, of course not. It's just love as a friend. But it took me going over to hers and having some drinks with her, and hearing about one of her own love interests for it to really sort of nail it in my head. And so I left that night, or that morning rather, just slept over, that's fine. And I was really quite troubled by how I was feeling. And I wasn't quite sure why. So I spent the next few days thinking about it, and after a lot of being honest with myself and staring at myself in the mirror in a non-vain way, I realized that I did in fact have feelings for her. And that was really quite sad for me, because, and I'd spoken with her about this before, as in, what if I caught feelings for her? What if I liked her? At the time, and all those previous times, I had said that if I caught feelings for her, I would distance myself. It seemed to me, and it still seems to me, to be the most rational way of doing things. It's the most honest, and it's the most fair. Because on one hand, while it's not fair on her that I distance myself, it is fair and it is honest for me to tell her how I'm feeling about her. And distancing myself is the best way of giving each other some space so that I can recalibrate myself and come back to her as the friend that I want to be for her, without said feelings getting in the way. So that was my line of thinking prior to all this. And so when I realized that I actually had feelings for her, it was, a moment of crisis in a way. I had to decide whether or not I stuck to my guns, stuck to my word, and was actually honest and logical about how I approached it, or whether I just kept it a secret and just pushed on. The second option, obviously not it. There are lots of problems with it from a my own view, from a morality standpoint, from a logical standpoint. And I am a big believer in honesty, and I couldn't maintain that sort of facade in good conscience. The only reason I had maintained it thus far was because I wasn't honest with myself about it. And so by extension, I didn't know about it, I guess. So I wasn't able to tell her earlier. But once I came to that conclusion that the only way was in fact to distance myself, I resolved to do it. And I tried. Within 4 days of leaving her place that time I left, I messaged her and I said, hey, listen, I'm ready to talk. Characteristically, she does not answer quickly and did not read my message for 2 days. And by that point, I've been sobbing and crying every night. I am quite torn up, I'd like to think justifiably, about having to end my friendship with her. It hurt me because I really do love her as a friend, and it really tore me up to have to do this. So I'm sitting there waiting for her to respond, and nothing. And so at a certain point on Friday, I text her again and I go, hey, please. She responds fairly quickly at that. But then she stops responding again, and as a whole mission, I'm not able to get a hold of her again for a while. She keeps doing other things, whatever. And then I'm finally able to see her yesterday. So pretty much a whole week after I originally messaged her saying, hey, we should talk about this. Which brings me to yesterday. It could have gone worse. It could probably have gone a lot worse. But having said that, it doesn't feel like it could have gone a lot worse. It didn't feel like it was good. It felt pretty terrible at the time. I wanted to do it in a neutral place. I wanted to talk about it with her in a neutral place. We both had somewhere to retreat to. The idea was originally to do it at university, but I'm not sure what, she wasn't able to do it. She went home. So I went home, and she was, I'll come over to yours. And I was like, okay, well, everywhere else is closing, unless we went to go get dinner, which I don't really want to do this over food. I don't want to trap anyone. At least she can still walk away at mine, as long as we don't do it in my room. So she came over. Whatever, we sit down, we talk about it, despite disruptions from my flatmates. Sit down, talk about it in the living room, and this is a slight caveat. This is a complaint about my performance of the talk. I am good at identifying the issues. I'm really bad at justifying myself and sticking up for myself in these hard conversations, and that was really apparent yesterday. The way I approached it was essentially, look, last week when we talked about this, it really made me realize that I did in fact have feelings for you, and I've been thinking about that ever since. In the past, when we talked about it, I said I distanced myself. I still think that's the best way forward, and I left it at that. I didn't justify myself. I didn't add any other context, and I didn't really have an outcome I wanted. I didn't really have a plan beyond that, and that was a problem. Partly, well, not entirely, I don't think entirely my fault, but it was a problem this time for reasons that are implicit. But going back to the conversation itself, I laid all that out, I wasn't able to articulate it nearly as well as I just did. But the entire time that I was doing that, she took it very well, in the sense that she wasn't taking it at all. She wasn't processing anything I was saying. So she was sitting there across from me, just sort of smiling and yeah, tee hee hee, whatever, as if it was all a joke, and she'd go off on all these tangents, and it just made it really hard for me to maintain any sort of momentum to just get it over with, because, as you might imagine, it really hurts to sort of push yourself away from someone who's your best friend. So that wasn't easy, and but by the end of it, there's nothing else to say. She hasn't processed it. She knows this is happening, but she hasn't fully processed it herself. And I'm just sitting there trying not to cry. I've got tears in my eyes. I'm staring off into space and not having a grand time. And then I'm like, you should probably leave. And so we make our way downstairs, and then we're talking. She's just asking if there's anyone else I can talk about it with. In my mind, not really. I have a few friends that I've spoken about it to today, with some guys who are good and are there for me, which is nice. But that aside, talking about that, and then I realized I had something of hers that was in my room, so I had to run up and get it, and she followed me up. I probably should have said something then, because the whole point, right, was so that she wasn't in my room when this was going on, because that way we'd have somewhere. Now, we were in a safer place, and we'd both have somewhere to retreat to. But we go up to my room, I give her it, and then that's when the processing starts happening for her. And so she's standing there in my room, right next to my door, going, "Oh no, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird." And she keeps saying it like 5, 10, 15 times. And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go now." I go, okay. So she starts walking down the stairs, and I go, wait. Do you want me to walk you out? And she goes, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I can't in good conscience just let her walk out herself. I should make sure that the door locks for one. I should make sure I should walk a guest out of the house. In retrospect, maybe not the greatest idea, but I go down, and she pauses at the door again, and she's just sort of standing there going, this is weird, this is weird, this is weird. Yeah, and some other things I probably blocked out of my memory, but and then she left. Not great. Did not make me feel good at all. I mean, the conversation wasn't supposed to make me feel good, but I would have much preferred just a clean break. Look, this is how I feel. This is what's to be done about it. I'd really like some indication that we can maybe still be friends after this, once I've given us the space for me to recalibrate myself and become the friend I know I should be for you. Some indication that we could still be friends after that, but no, there was none of that. And the real sticking bit for me is that she has a habit of discarding people, and she also has a habit, well, I'll talk to this second habit in a moment, but she has a habit of discarding people. Her best friend from high school, for example, she's told me that she didn't speak to her for years, and she was like, my fault, whatever. That's not an isolated incident, by the way. It's happened to other people as well. People will often message her and she just won't reply. She knows she should, she just doesn't because there's other things going on, which is fair. I don't blame her for it, but at a certain point, you just gotta respond, because otherwise you let other people down. So that's a difference in personal philosophies, I guess. But in any case, my impression, my perception of her is that because, in my view, she has a tendency to discard people, I am equally at risk of being discarded, particularly after this. And I think there's 70, 80, 90% chance, I'm not sure, that we'll never talk again. Which is really sad for me. Which is really, really tragic. It hurts me. But if that's the way things are, then so be it, I guess. You live and you learn, you take the lesson and you move on. I'm not sure what the lesson is here. Maybe with time it will become clearer. But there are some takeaways I certainly can learn from. Namely, go into a conversation, a hard conversation like this, with a clear outcome that you'd like, and plans for it, and a rationale of why this is necessary to begin with. Having some sort of goal and structure of achieving that goal, I think, would benefit me and just help structure my thoughts before I actually go in to a conversation like this in the future. Hopefully not many future conversations like this at all, but a good lesson to apply to hard conversations overall. The second habit that she has is she tends to talk quite badly of other people behind their back, and it makes me really uncomfortable. In fairness to her, some, particularly men, some of the men she talks about with me have done some atrocious, horrible things. And yeah, by all means, warn other people of them. But she talks about other people quite often, and it makes me uncomfortable. Irrespective, or putting aside, the unjustifiably bad things that some of them have done. And I guess I'm just really scared of becoming yet another one of those people that she talks about in passing. I know it's and I've talked to my flatmates who are part of the LGBT community. They, my flatmate was telling me that sometimes it's just normal for people within that community to bash straight men. It's just sort of a cultural thing, she explained. It's sort of expected in a way, and I can understand why. It doesn't make me feel any better about it. It explains it. It doesn't justify it to me, but that aside, she might have cause to do it for some people, but it makes me really uncomfortable and really sad that I'm now at risk of being talked about like that. I've tried to approach this whole thing with the most honest and sincere intentions, and it troubles me that despite my best, honest, sincere, genuine efforts, they might be for naught, and who knows what can come of it. So I'm a little bit concerned there, and as she was leaving, I did say that to her. And in response, I'm pretty sure this was in response to that, she said, "This is crazy, it's because I tell you everything." Which is fair, and I'm really grateful that she does. And if that's the case, so be it. But I know she also says these sorts of things when my flatmates are around, for example. So I don't know if it's just because it's me that she's saying these things about other people too, or if it's just a pattern of her. I don't know for certain. But because she said it to my flatmates, I'm inclined to believe she said these sorts of things to other people as well. Oh, okay, so that's up to now. Sorted. Oh, that's my light. Oh, so bright. That's where I'm at. I don't feel great today. I'm not gonna lie. How could I? I have just metaphorically broken up with my best friend, one of my best friends, if not my best friend. So it hurts. It's really painful. And one thing that was told to me recently that I really needed to hear was that it's not my fault. I can't control my emotions. In fact, this is the fourth, maybe the fifth crush I've ever had in my life. I didn't see it coming, frankly. And I had no control over it, sadly. And it really hurts. Really hurts. I get it, her reaction, processing things takes time. It's no comfort. In fact, it's deeply unsettling for me. And the uncertainty is sort of killing me. And I really do wish there was another way. I really do. I don't know what the other way would look like. I don't know. I really do wish there was, though. She has in the past joked about me catching feelings for her, in which case she said I'd always be her Ben, not entirely sure what that means, and that she's given it quite a bit of thought. Also don't know what that means. So I'm curious to know what thought she's actually put into this if we ever talk again. Because maybe, I don't want to fool myself, maybe there is another way. I don't think there is. I feel like this is the best approach to re-becoming the friend I should be for her. And I really want to be there to support her as well, because she's had a really tough run of things in general, and to deprive her of a friend in a time like this weighs heavily on my part. Weighs heavily. And I did not take this decision to tell her now lightly, but I would much rather have been honest with her so that she knows that when I'm around her, I'm hanging out with her because I love her as a person, not because I just have this emotional crush to her. I love her for who she is, right? Not because I have feelings for her. So that for me was the prevailing factor. I can't let dishonesty get in the way of that. Okay, so now what can we do about this? Stage one, just sit in the emotion, I guess. Sit in the sadness and the misery, the agony. Just sit in it. Just acknowledge it. Let it simmer, and then let it settle, I think. And I'm still in this stage. I probably will be for quite some time. Number two is what my friends and I were talking about today, which we are terming, in honor of President Macron of France, we are terming strategic realignment. So that's looking for future goals, looking to move past the emotions that I'm processing right now. So that's strategic realignment. And number three is strategic autonomy. So again, quoting President Macron. And strategic autonomy for me looks like getting over these feelings for her. Being the friend I should be for her again. And back to ideally the normal. The normal would be good. So that's sort of my game plan going forward. It's easy to have this sort of structure, and I want to keep it very, very light, because the more structured it is, the more comprehensive the structure, the more logical it is. But as we have already talked about, emotions are anything but logical. They're irrational, and I think a more flexible, lighter touch framework is the best way of organizing my life around something that's irrational. It'll better allow for more of the nuance that comes with emotions, is my thought process, at least. So back to step one. What am I feeling right now? I'm feeling in pain. I'm feeling really anxious. I'd really like to receive a message from her right about now. I'd really like to. Just letting me know that things will be okay and we'll work through this. That would be ideal. So that's anxiety coming in. Also really anxious that we're just never going to be friends again because of this. Sad. But if there is, and if there must be, a pro to that point of view, even as friends, she gave me a lot of anxiety. I didn't like the fact that she would regularly and very frequently not reply to my messages for days. Did not appreciate that at all. And so I think having a step back from the friendship could be a good thing as well. Just to spare myself some of that pain that even came with the friendship itself. So without the friendship, I get to avoid that entirely. But that's not really hitting me right now. That's more of a maybe step 2, step 3 sort of thing. But right now I'm feeling troubled. I really struggled to focus today in class and at work. Really, really tough. It's weighing on my mind. What else do I feel? I feel angry at myself. I blame myself for the conversation not going well yesterday. That's not a fair reaction. I was thrown off by a few things. My flatmate coming in and having a conversation with her while I was trying to split off from her, was one. The other maybe being the fact that she was just sitting there smiling while I was getting this off my chest and trying to say goodbye to her, and she's just sitting across from me smiling and going off on all these tangents, and it's just it doesn't help. So I feel angry at myself for not being more assertive and steering the conversation, maybe, and keeping it on track and just maintaining the momentum. No, again, not fair. It's not my fault. I'm new at this. I'm learning. I could do better, yes, but I'm learning, and that's all that matters, and that's what I need to keep telling myself. I also have this doom view, this doom cloud in my head right now, thinking, oh, it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the same. It too shall pass, is the logical answer. It too shall pass. She too shall pass. Doesn't feel like it now. It won't for some time, maybe, but things will get better, inshallah. I'm learning Arabic, by the way, trying not to, just FYI. Yeah, listen, maybe I'll check in the next few days about how I'm feeling, if there's any difference, if I thought about anything new, but really needed to make this video and just get some things off my chest. And I think if there was one thing I'd leave with, it's I still think distancing myself is the fairest approach to us both. I can't stay because it would mean carrying something I can't resolve while watching her live her life, so I need to distance myself a little bit. And I don't want her to question whether I'm here as her friend who loves her or because I'm there because I have feelings for her. I don't want her to question that, which is why I'm distancing myself, I think is the fundamental thing. Yeah, and I don't know, I had a really tough time of it. I've been crying and sobbing and having nightmares for the past week thinking about this. I woke up 3 a.m. this morning from a nightmare and a cold sweat thinking about her. So, tough. Listen, that's it. Been a very long video. I've never made one this long, but lots to talk about. I'd be shocked if you made it this far. And if you did, hey, thanks for listening. Hope you're doing well. But regardless, whether or not you made it this far, wishing you an absolutely wonderful week and a wonderful day. Have a wonderful time, guys. All the best. Cheers.